Call this the role of a lifetime. The role of Ophelia in Hamlet, portrayed here by Helena Bonham Carter, has got to be one of the big dreams, I think, of any actress in the field, don't you think?
It is. I mean, when I got the part, everyone said, what a wonderful part. But, and it is, and I really wanted to play it. And I worked very hard, and I had screen tests. But it is actually quite a difficult part when you look at it closely, when you actually take it. You've got all the mad scenes, and there's sort of, she's become a bit of a, those are the wonderful bits, but she's become a bit of a myth and a legend, and she became a bit of a superstar, really, in the Victorian period, when they did all those beautiful paintings.
Well, in fact, in the Romantic period, so-called, in the 19th century, Ophelia was like an
She was
emblem.
the ideal, exactly. So
why do you suppose that was? What kind of an appeal has she always had?
Oh, she had, well, particularly for the Romantics, they rather like these sort of pathetic, it was the pathos of her, and the sort of vision of the drowned and the unrequited love. I mean, she was heavily romantic, and they put all these flowers, and she was just incredibly, she was ideal visually and just as a personality and what happened to her. But then, having said that, to do it in the 1990s, it's quite difficult to make it quite modern, because she's actually, when you look at it on the face, on the page, one, she's quite underwritten, but also she can be quite passive and subservient and obedient.
And I'm curious, too, about the decision on the sing-song. Singing as opposed to reciting the song lyrics. What went into that decision? You
well, I didn't sing.
Speak them.
I spoke them, because I thought it was going to be a bit, particularly in the film, where you were really having to bring things down to a very naturalistic level. It would seem a bit contrived, I thought, to suddenly break into song. And I also thought that if I did start breaking into song with Franco Zeffirelli as a director, you know, we'd suddenly go into town, it would be like a musical. Hey, Ophelia, you know, sort of.
Bring in Herb Ross, and we can choreograph the sequence.
Yes, exactly.
Well.
So I really played it down. I practically mumbled it. And I thought also, with the songs, rather than the tunes being the most relevant thing, and also you have a music score to take that. I mean, if you want to have an Ophelia theme, he can do it. But the words are very important. So if you didn't sing it with the song, then the words will come to the fore more. And it really, she's sort of going around with the same tape going on and on inside her mind.
Right.
Telling
like
the story.
It's a tape loop. That's a good way of...
Yeah, and the story that the songs recite is her story. It's about Hamlet. It's about a man rejecting a woman because she went to bed with him. Not that that's what happened necessarily to Ophelia and to Hamlet, but that's what she thinks.
Everybody that talks about Ophelia notes what a terrible time she's having. Nobody really is doing her right.
I know,
not
I know.
your dad, not Gertrude, nobody.
Everyone abuses her, and including somewhat, I feel, although people might disagree with me, but including the playwright, I find a bit, in that she's so underwritten, I think, and lots of things happen. She's very unexplained, and lots of people have, including the audiences actually, find it's quite difficult to sympathise with her. That even if she goes mad at the end, they think, oh, well, she was so wimpish and passive. I mean, you know, she got what she deserved. But I just try to make her as strong as possible, because as I was saying earlier, I don't think that you can't play her as sort of the obedient daughter.
Now, as
passive,
people are listening and looking at you, they're saying, where have I seen this woman before? Merchant Ivory, Room with the View. Tell us about the distance between that movie and this. How long has it been?
Well, it's been about 5 years now, so it's quite a long time. But I, still get people coming up and saying, "Oh, you were the girl," and I say, "Yes," and it's great. I mean, it was a great success, and it was a wonderful film too. But I have grown up a bit, although I might not look it. But I mean, it's 5 years now, and I think that was very much the beginning and well, the first, or no, my second job.
Yeah, and with these two very prestigious projects in mind, strike us a counterbalance. Take us to a role as far away from these two pictures, something maybe it's low down and dirty, something you've done that's so different from both of these roles. I
suppose Getting It Right was a bit odd. I did a film called Getting It Right. I played a neurotic Billy Mick.
Real package.
That was a bit different, yeah. I've done some stuff, like sort of modern stuff in England, and some stage stuff. I'd love to do some comedy, really. I mean, really I have to do something in the 20th century. I think that'll get, because I've got, I'm risk of being totally kept in a time warp, sort of professionally speaking. I mean, I'm here, breathing in the 20th century, so.
Your first Shakespeare?
Yes, my first Shakespeare. This is Ophelia, yeah.
Not a bad way to get out of the gate, or is it? Any drawbacks?
Well, it could. There are a lot of drawbacks, and I was, quite hesitant I mean, I really wanted it, but also I thought this isn't not necessarily the most sensible way about trying to do Shakespeare for the first time, because there's so much, you're going to be so exposed. And particularly on film, where you don't get so much time to rehearse, so you can't refine it. It's not so much up to you, but it's up to the director, and your performance is very much in his hands.
Something I'm going to be asking everyone today. Would you share your thoughts on this? Do you hope that a lot of people who come to see Hamlet will be maybe those that have never seen Shakespeare before?
Oh, absolutely, and I hope so. And I hope they come and they realise that they had a really enjoyable time, and they didn't feel that they were coming just for virtuous reasons, or, you know, cultural, and oh, it will do us good and everything, but that they actually enjoyed it and they were entertained by it. And I think they will, because I think it's a very accessible piece, and it moves fast, and it's the language isn't, you know, doesn't strike one as difficult.
Indeed. And the last footnote, Helen, if I may, the rigors of shooting, castle battlements, bare feet.
Yeah, I know, it was tricky. Well, I was mad. I mean, yeah, I had to go around barefoot and wet and saturated, but, you know, it sort of helps, I think.
In this character, certainly.
Yeah, exactly. Because then I got really... I mean, a lot of the madness I sort of interpreted as quite angry. So as people were, you know, mistreating me and putting me in, going around in barefoot, I sort of, Zeffirelli was being sadistic, I thought I could just sort of retaliate, be angry.
Give me an image that you come away with from the film, something we couldn't possibly know, something happened on a bad day, good day.
I thought it was going to be the easiest days, but in fact some of the hardest days was the days I spent having to be dead on my
yeah.
bier, you know, when I was being my funeral. And those were... Franco decided suddenly, it came to my close-up. I'd done 4 days of being emotionless by now, and it came to my close-up, and of course, and everyone, I always look at, you know, to see if somebody's really dead, you know, when you see a corpse, to see if the flickers on the eyes.
You know we're doing that, aren't you?
Yeah, you're everyone, so you know you're being scrutinized, and you're trying to be as relaxed as possible.
It's the eyelids.
Exactly, those are the telling things. And then Franco decides it has to have a sort of artful wind that blows across my face. And he starts blowing, you know, he starts blowing across my face. I just couldn't keep a straight face. I corpsed.
Well, it may be an artful wind blowing through Hamlet, but it's a very bracing one too. Enjoyed it very much. Helena Bonham Carter is Ophelia in Franco Zeffirelli's Hamlet. And we are in Hollywood. I'm John Tibbetts for KCTV5.